you can leave at 5:30. So the seminar starts from 2:30 to 5:30. Okay, and first, and keep a little bit quiet because we're doing recording, and the people can't come today. They will hear from the recording next time. Okay, so first thing first, we want to welcome our Ginseng, Wisconsin Ginseng board. Yeah, the president of the Wisconsin Ginseng board, Ginseng board of Wisconsin, Bob Kaldunski. Bob Kaldunski.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lights down so we can see the screen.
Oh, you want the lights down?
Yeah,
Okay.
because the screen is reflecting, the lights reflect on the screen.
Okay, as mentioned, I'm the president of the Ginseng Board of Wisconsin, a lifelong grower, 41 years of growing ginseng, or I'm sorry, 42 years of growing ginseng in central Wisconsin. And I'd like to introduce our team that's here. Dave Schumacher, the vice president, also a second generation grower of 35 years, I believe, of growing ginseng. And executive director, Jackie Fett. And we have, with the part of our team, is Lori McGee of Millennial Marketing, so a very important part of our team. And then also with us here, a distributor of ours, a very good distributor that's been with us for many years, Prince of Peace, and that'd be Eva, Paul, and Linda are here. Again, they're very good partners. When you see their product, you can be assured that it is Wisconsin ginseng. So, anyway, good. Okay. Again, we're excited to be here. It's great to be in front of you, and kind of we're going to bring Wisconsin and bring the ginseng to you, and hopefully when you're done today, you have just a little bit more knowledge of ginseng and what it is and how it can benefit yourself or your clients. Okay. Wisconsin ginseng, we have about 25% of our growers are Hmong, and part of the GBW is we educate, promote Wisconsin ginseng. We do research. We educate, again, like we come to seminars or things here that we again bring the ginseng to you, inform you what Wisconsin ginseng is. In the Asian community, it's well known, well understood, but in America, in the medical, it's just not, not quite well as known. And we do expand, the international markets, domestic markets, we're expanding markets for ourselves. And we do not sell ginseng, but we have our distributors and people like Prince of Peace and others that do sell. Okay, what is Panax quinquefolia? Rich lay down, and we've got the subsoils where moisture is taken away. It's not a clay or it's a pack. So it's very unique, and it's very unique to a very small portion of the industry or to the state. Here's the map. Marathon, this is Marathon County here, it's a square. That's where 95% of the ginseng is grown. That's exported. And Wisconsin produces 95% of the ginseng that's exported. So all the ginseng is grown in this area. Some is stretching out a little bit, but mostly this is the area that it's growing in. There is wild, you're going to find wild in these areas up in here, but the cultivated is just this area. So it's really unique to a small area. And again, that's because of our soils and the structure that we have that allows that. So here's the life cycle of ginseng. Starts with a seed. That seed is all picked by hand from the gardens. It's a very labor-intense crop. There has been some automation that's come along to help, but it's still very labor. So these seeds are picked. It's called stratify. We'll get the plant it, and we have a 1-year-old crop. It produces 1 stem, 3 leaves. And then that grows for the summer, and there's a lot of maintenance in that crop. Then that crop then grows. Second year comes up, and it's got 2 prongs, and then 3 leaves on the prong, 4 leaves on the prong. Then the next year, third year, and then it's a perennial. So then fall it goes down, and then fall next year comes up, and then we have a 3-year-old crop. And then you have one big stem coming up, and then you have 3 prongs going up. And then it produces seed that year, and then that seed can be picked as a 4-year-old, same process. When it dies off for winter, we have a harsh winter, and not harsh, it freezes. So we can walk on water in Wisconsin, and it's real cold. So the plant goes down in October, November. Yes?
So when a plant is 7 years old, does it have 3 leaves?
Yes. Yeah, that 5-year-old plants on the 5 prongs. Typically, the industry does not grow 7-year-olds, but if you do grow them that long, they do branch off, get more branches, yes.
How polite of it how polite of the plant to tell us its age.
Yeah. And then, although the wild doesn't necessarily do that for you, because it's a different growing environment. The plant doesn't live a full cycle. It usually passes off somewhere in the middle due to wildlife or disease. So then you're 4-year-old, and then of these here, again, we pick these berries. It's all hand picked. So you have groups, people come in, or family come. We pick these berries, and you have to take this. It's a pulp. You take that pulp off. And then we call it stratification. So you throw that in, you put that seed into a sand base, and you let it go over winter. And then that next year then is that seed. We take this seed then, like that, we take that pulp off. And that goes in the sand for the winter, and then that's planted next year, the summer or fall. And then that does not grow until the next year. So it's kind of a unique crop where you pick a berry 1 year, 2 years later, it first produces crop. That's the life cycle. So it's kind of a long, here's kind of the growing cycle. In May, our spring comes. April, snow kind of leaves, ground thaws, temperatures rise. We have structures, which you'll see. We close the structure. We mimic that forest. And so we close the gardens, get the shade on top. And then the weeds start growing. So you have to get the weeds out. So we pick by hand. In June, July, there's a lot of, we get hand weeding. There's prevention, management things that we do. You know, there's diseases, there's things that come in, or we need airflows or stuff like that. So you open, you move things. And that pretty much goes to the summer, June, July, and then August, still hand weeding. We got the berry picking that comes, and then we got the planting of new gardens. So we take those berries that we picked 2 years ago, plant them, or a year ago I should say, plant them. And then we start taking gardens down that we want to dig. It's a 3-year-old garden, 4-year-old garden. So that means the year, 3 or 4 means the year that it was growing, actually growing out of the soil. So then at the end of September, October, November are months where we're harvesting the root. We are opening the gardens and covering them with straw mulch to protect them from harsh winters. And then April through December, that's the month that they're kind of sleeping. They're frozen in the ground. And here's a picture of a 1-year-old garden. These are 1-year-old plants. And this happens to be a wood structure. So we've got wood posts, and we've got these cross things that hold this landed section. And what we want to do is to make an 80% shade. Like Kaldunski gives us. So that's what we have. And again, this all has to be hand weeded and controlled. It weeds, it robs from the plant, and brings other disease, brings other insects in. So then here would be a 3 or 4-year-old crop. I'm not sure what it's one of them, but here's the berries. This is a ripe season, so very beautiful garden with red berries. And we come through, we pick them up by hand, and then if we were to dig this, we got to take this all down by hand. Things down by hand. And then here's the seed. This is the seed that is prepared for planting. It comes from those red berries you just seen. So all stratified, and then that's what gets put in the ground. And here's a picture of the harvested root. So this is a September, late September, mid-October picture. We use years ago, in the beginning, these pitchforks, you dig the bed by hand. Now we use modified potato diggers that come in, they dig the ginseng is in a raised bed, yes.
How old are the plants that you harvest?
These 3 or 4 years, and that would be growing years. So I don't want to confuse you, but there's some people say when you plant it, they count that as a year, but we count it as the year it grows because you planted the year before. It'd be like planting your pickle plant this year and not getting pickles the next year. So we consider like 3-year-old, that's the years that it's growing. So these look like they could be 3 or 4, I'm not sure, but 3 or 4 year growing. Yes.
In our herbal medicine, we use seeds. Is there any specific use for the seed of the ginseng or only the root?
I'm not aware of the seed yet. I'm not sure. There's been some work with the pulp. Dave, are you aware of anything with seed?
No, I don't know of any. There's a decent amount of ginseng, I'll say. The problem is that if it's dried, there's pretty much nothing left other than the hull from the seed.
Right.
There's very little. Overall, there's very little benefit.
Yeah, because it's a very unique seed. So it's a seed. You've seen the seed. It's got a hard shell, like almost like a clam, and then the inside's a soft shell. It's a soft seed. So it's kind of a unique seed that way. So now if it gets dry, that inside actually will dry, and it will dry. It's a big white fluffy seed inside, but when it dries, it just turns to, it's like a little pancake. It's just like paper thin. And then a lot of times the seed it won't germinate then because it dried out too far. So it's kind of a unique seed also. Not only the crop is unique, the seed's unique. So I don't know, you make a point. I'm not sure how you would use that seed.
Okay.
You know, dried, there wouldn't be much there when you dried it. So yeah, so that, and we've modified, this is a potato digger. The beds are raised. I probably forgot to mention that. We raised the beds. Cover with mulch to keep the weed down. We keep the soil cool as we can. Yeah, we want to get air, so we, microbial life in the soil and the plant to live. Yes.
Do you use herbicides and pesticides around the plant?
No herbicides, no. Some pesticides, but they're limited, and a lot of them are like an organic source, but very little. And we do have to use some fungicide. So a lot of those can be coppers. It can be like organic sources, like some bacillus and things like that. But we do have to use some. Yes. But also with that, we do have a program. We work with Michigan State, and we test our roots, the ginseng roots that we sell as an industry are tested, and they are tested to be clean before they're sold. The residues, you won't find harmful residues in the root. So when we monitor that ourselves, we test the roots, just like your vegetable crops do, stuff like that. Because our market is not the United States. Even though United States, we have there's a market here, but our market is Asia. 85% of our root, ultimately, or 65% goes to China, mainland China, and ultimately about 80% of it ends up there. Either the person will carry back in, or Taiwan is a big market for us too, evolving. So is Vietnam, and a lot of those countries don't have MRL, so there's no tolerance, 0. So we have to be clean going in. So your root is clean. Now, can ginseng straight up be organic? No. I shouldn't say no. It's very hard to be organic. But can it be clean and good and safe? Yes. Very extremely clean and safe. Yes.
So it means that we can use fertilizers.
Pardon?
We can use fertilizer.
Yes, and the industry uses it's probably 100% organic fertilizer. All organics, all your rock sulfates, your potashes, everything's organic. Nothing commercial. Yes.
So when you harvest the roots, do you use the leaves and the stems, or you just leave the leaves?
No, that gets discarded at this point. The leaves and the stems get discarded. So prior to the picture I showed you with the berries and stuff, we scrape that all off. Now what's left is the ground, is the raised bed, and we come through with this harvester, and then we dig that, and then roots fall on top of the ground. So then
you showed us a picture before with wood poles and shade,
mm-hmm.
and now we're harvesting and there's no wood pole.
in the root. And
Well,
it can fall
the
the
plant,
plants.
in Oriental medicine, the whole plant has potential.
Mhm.
And it might be myth that we only get long life if we take the roots, and if we take the leaves, which die, then we'll die early. I mean, there could be a restrictive mental concept that has not brought the leaf forward in our pharmacopoeia. However, technically, you're wasting half of the plant, and I would like to invite at least a curious look at, is there something in the leaves that could also be of use in medicine and therefore beneficial not only in the harvest but for the farmers, because at the moment they're discarding something that might also bring them income.
You know, like some of the things might be low spray copper, so there could be extra copper on the leaf, neem oil, things like that, some bacillus. So some of the thought is maybe there's some contamination or too much copper or something like that in, or some organic matters or neem oil. I'm not sure, but the focus has been strictly pretty much on the root. So, and the plant does, come fall, it does. The plant itself, when it rises out of the soil, all its energy from the root goes to the plant. Then the next month and a half, it puts all its energy into producing that. There's a seed out here, produce that seed, and then there's another seed out. So when you get plant root does not really grow, and that's our market is the root. We sell the root, and at this point we've not had anything about the plant. So the root doesn't really grow until mid-late August and through September, and then we're harvesting it. And then the plant itself will start, you see these colors here? This is late September, called synapse. They start dying. The plant will just naturally die. You put a ginseng plant in your house, it's gonna die in fall. So the plants start basically breaking down or shutting down. So as a grower, I wanna get every ounce I can get out of my root grow. And that comes in the month of late August and the month of September. And it grows, it does, would you say, Dave, 50% or 60% of its growth is in that month, if not more?
I would agree.
Yes.
How long would the nutrition stay with the root after you harvest?
If the ginseng is held, in a climate control, like it's almost agave, we know 3 years is good. But there's definitely a difference of everything. You smell fresh ginseng in a barrel or whatever versus a year old or 2 years or 3 years of difference. It does. And after 3 years, it can be still good, but I would suspect your summer side is a little bit lower. And as Wisconsin, we produce 1 million pounds of rye. That's pretty much what we produce. And that's
in what time? 1 million in how much time?
1 million per year we produce. And currently now, Canada is somewhere around 8 million. And then China, we don't know what China is. China, we think it was 15 million, but it's gone down. So we think they're around 10 million. We're about 5-6% of the market, but that's right where we want to be. We know we can market that. We get a better price because of that. So, that we call it a sweet spot. It's kind of where it's good. When buyers come in, they can buy the market, and that has changed too. It's part of it. They used to come in and buy a lot more aggressive, but it's now turned out to be the whole year. But with Wisconsin ginseng, because of the bitterness and sweetness and the higher ginseng side that we regularly have, that's what attracts everybody, and it's noted for that. So,
sorry, what month did you say the root was growing the most?
September. Late August, September. It grows. And you can get more if you take real late, you're always dealing with weather, but you'll even notice more growth. But then there's a point where it goes, not goes out of weight, but your weight. But September is the big month where you really get your weight. So, yes.
So Wisconsin in the area can grow good ginseng, right? Because the weather,
Yeah.
the water.
Yeah, Wisconsin, right, Wisconsin is sort of in that picture on the map. It's a very small area in the center of the state. And it's literally my doorstep. I don't know if you can, I'm not sure how you measure miles here, but if you go 8 miles to the north, you run in a whole different soil structure where you really don't want to grow ginseng. And the same thing, you go 15 miles to the other direction, and it's the same thing. You get corn, anything you want there.
So every year you have to change or plant your seeds in a different location?
Yes, when you plant, right. So if you just picture yourself having your house garden in one corner of your house, and you had a row of carrots, you dug those carrots or whatever, say it's a couple of years, you can now plant them back there, but you can move over and plant them. And then, but as a farmer, we just keep moving on our farm, different locations. The ground, again, we use organic fertilizers and our cultural practices that we use. We leave that ground better shape than we. It's something with the ginseng. We haven't looked into what it does. It doesn't matter if it's grown in China or if it's grown in Canada. It's the same. Yes.
So do you wait a certain amount of years before you can plant it again in that soil, or you never?
Never. Don't. We just don't. We just want to have rich. We just want, because it's not worth the effort and it's the fresh virgin soil. It's such a nice root, and we're known for that. So we just move it.
But given the small area, eventually you're going to use up all the soil, so you've lost your crop.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of years before we use up all the soil.
But
Yeah,
it will.
eventually, I suppose, yeah, some point, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't see that happening.
And
Dave,
then
what do you think? How long before we use that soil up?
How many years?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, it could be 50 or 100.
Yeah.
We've already tried planting ginseng back 50 years later, and it will sprout and grow the first year, but by the second year, you probably have 50% of the crop, and by the third year, it's completely gone. So it's leaving some type, we're not sure if it's taking something out of the soil that the ginseng needs, or it's leaving a disease in the soil. There's been a lot of testing done from different universities that have not come up with a solution yet, but there's something in that soil that's preventing it from growing.
There's two sides in the ginseng, and they're negative and positive. RB1 and RG3, I think. I don't know. I think those are two. They're antagonistic of each other, and the negative is actually greater than the positive. And there's been research where they've separated them, and they've given patients medical, and really didn't do anything. They put them back together as they were in a plant. That's when they saw the benefits and stuff of the ginseng. So yeah, we've replanted after 40 years in the area and showed up the second year. You can see where the ginseng was.
I'll give a question right here.
Yeah. Yes.
Hi, is there any research so far or observations about the possibilities of what climate change might do to the farms and the production levels and quality?
No, to be honest, if climate change is going to dry our weather out, I'm all for it. As a farmer, because we can get rain, and that's awful for this crop. It likes moisture, the plant does, but any root crop, we put too much water in it, and we put the shade over it, the structure, mimic it, plus we put the mulch or the straw over the bed. So when we get excessive rain in days or weeks, but no, the bottom line, we have not done any work on that at this point anyway.
No problem so far.
No, storms are a problem, because you see those structures here. You see that's a newer plastic structure. That's like a boat sail. So if the wind catches a corner or something happens, you gotta go find it. Yeah, and that happens quite often. The wood, same with wood, they lift up, you wire down, but they lift up, they go. That's the other part of it. So, yes.
You talked about some of your more bigger consumers. Are pharmaceutical companies looking to purchase your ginseng? And if they are, if you're able to share, what they might use, what products might be coming out?
Okay. Yeah. United States, not so much. We have some health food, some smaller companies that are putting ginseng in like energy things, something like that. the ginseng farmers ourselves, we have guys that produce capsules. Dave has a company, they do capsules of ginseng, usually a 500 milligram capsule. Wisconsin ginseng is classified as a TCM in China and Asia, so it is a medicine, it's herb, it's sold as a herb over there, and that's how our market goes, pharmaceuticals. That's where it goes.
So are you subjecting the leaves to essential oil extraction?
Yes, they're extracts. Yes, we do ginseng extract, yes. Not so much in this country, it's starting to come around, it's very expensive, but overseas it's very common, it's becoming more common, to extract, and then
that's from the leaves.
The leaves?
From the leaves?
No, from the root. From the root, it's all from the root, it's extracted, and that can be a liquid, or it can be a powder, like a dry form, and they use it for the dry form, or either one, use them for baking or cooking. And now ginseng has just been given a food of Wisconsin, or I think all ginseng, Wisconsin ginseng in China, food for medicine. So before it was strictly a TCM, now they can formulate and use it in the foods. It can be beverages, or it can be a soup or something, a broth or something like that, which is good for the Wisconsin ginseng and good for consumers. So.
I think this guy had a question.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wondered, so eventually it could be possible that actually we use all the land that suited for the ginseng growing, but because you cannot use it anymore, right?
Actually, the land?
Yeah. So
yeah, it's a lot of years. It's a lots of years.
It happened in China. It happened in China because in Chinese medicine, the central area we used to use kind of a ginseng called a dangsen. It's kind of from Shandong area. It's south of the Shanxi province. Actually, that many years ago, so actually this land is wasted, so it cannot be growing ginseng anymore, and also actually destroy the whole natural environment of the land, even affect the other kind of plants growth. That's why Dangsen become kind of an antique name. So we don't use this for almost 1,000 years. The land to use for. So this area is actually migrated to the Liaoning areas too. The south of east of Liaoning. So actually, right now we call it Dangsen. Actually, it was not from that area because this area already wasted. So that's recorded in the Li Shizhen, who is a very famous, herbalist, in his book.
There's this slide right here. Okay. Marathon County is the largest county in the state. I've got, just in my neighborhood alone, I know there's 80 acres that has not had ginseng on yet, so just in my neighborhood. It depends too, I didn't want to get into this, but we could talk about a little bit. There's different markets developing for different ginseng. So Wisconsin is known for the hard, smaller ginseng root. There is some movement south a little bit into some lighter soils, and that they grow a root that's 4 years old, maybe 5 years old, and that gets into your bigger slices. And I think our distributor in the back, if you look for a piece, you'll see the slices and how big they are. And that root comes from a little bit area out of this marathon, coming just a little bit down, it's a little bit lighter soil, has a good drainage, and produces a very good root. So it's going to be a lot of years before we run the ground. And also, just to reiterate, our culture, our practices that we use, we leave that soil in better shape than we got it. One of the things that how we catch counterfeit ginseng coming in labels Wisconsin from China, we test it. It's full of carcinogens. What they use, what they can use, or what they use to get it to the market, so it's toxic, basically. That's how we just test it. We find it. We got a fingerprinting process, but we don't need to. We just do a chemical test on it. We don't use that stuff. We don't have that. We use wholesome, good, organic things. So when we're done with our ground, it is in really good shape. It can be put into anything you want for cattle feeds, for human. It's all good. There's no concerns with it. So again, do we come back though?
I'll just mention one thing, Bob. I know a number of people have been concerned about running out of land. Ginseng is a very unique crop in that it's very small acreage compared to other crops like corn or soybeans or something like that. All the ginseng growers in Wisconsin together have about 2,000 acres under shade right now. So that means we're only planting about 500 acres per year.
Good point.
So compared to other crops, we are very, very small. So that's why we use very little land in any 1 year or any one cycle. So that part's very good.
You're saying 500 acres is a small portion of land?
Compared to other crops.
Yeah.
For an entire crop.
Well, I'm speaking just about what you as farmers are using or what you own. I come from a farming background to some degree as well, so I have an idea how big is an acre. And it's fascinating to me because I have researched a long time, like probably a lot of people here at the American Ginseng, because it's just fascinating. And it's just interesting that you cannot reuse soil, and then 500 acres. So if I could ask, how many acres do you access does your company own? If you're using 500 a year.
No, that's for the whole industry. That's the
The
entire
whole
industry.
The whole industry, yeah.
Most of our growers
Yeah.
produce they plant about 1/2 to 1 acre a year.
Okay, because I heard you say 2,000 acres total for industry and 500 acres was yours.
No, so it's 2,000 total, so that's like just figure 40 years of ginseng, 4-year-old ginseng. So it's 500 acres per year that's planted. Now we have about 100, right now we're down to about 100 growers right now. So we do have multiple growers. I'm a small grower. I grow 1.5 to 2 acres. Our family takes care of it. Dave is a smaller grower, their family takes care of it. We do have growers. We have the world's largest grower at over 300 acres a year. That they bring in hired labor and stuff, H2A people. We have another couple growers that grow 150 or 100, and then we've got a bunch of people that grow 5-6 acres per year. So when you talk about, I've got a total of 5.5 acres under roof. That's my total, all 3 years. Right.
5.5 acres is all you
Mm-hmm.
And it confuses me because you're saying you can't replant.
Mm-hmm.
So are you leasing land each year?
I own a few hundred acres, so you can just actually, I'm done and I'm out of land. I could move, I could go someplace else, but no, you lease, you rent land, or you buy land, yeah. Agriculture, I'm not sure how familiar you are with it, but a farmer can own 300-400 acres really easy, and then there's farmers that do 1,000 to 2,000 acres cash crop in our area. So, it's kind of a unique area. We've got a lot of good ag land, and we've got a lot of nice woods and rivers, and a very scenic structure by us. Get down in here, it's plains and sand, and we got hundreds and thousands of acres just open. That's your vegetable, something like that, but that's way down the bottom. So Wisconsin's a very diverse state. We've got, specialty crops, we've got beef, pork, we've got all that stuff, we're very, very diverse. So ginseng's just another one of those crops there. But yeah, good point, Dave, right? So we're not using that much land really. It's a smaller confined area always that we use. So it's not like corn and beans. Corn would be 80 million acres, beans are 90 million acres. That's cross country though, So we're not that kind of acreage, yes.
So it will grow on land that had crops before, just not in land that
had ginseng before. Yep.
So what other crops do you grow on your own?
Corn, soybeans, hay, sunflowers, peas and oats, sweet corn.
Are you organic?
No, somewhere between. I'd call it not commercial. Where you think we're spraying. No, we're between them. don't know how you describe it. No Roundups, no Monsanto, stuff like that. Everything is natural as can be. And it's, no, we do use a herbicide on the crops, the commercial, like oats or corn. But we have organic grounds, they use weed burners. You know, that's a shot. That's real common. So.
Because there could be a concern, I mean, I'm just voicing it, of what they talk about when people use the Roundup and then it drifts over and spoils the organic fields in any direction. And so there would need to be some sort of commitment from the growers that what they're growing elsewhere on their property.
Yeah, there is, and it's, because of the high value of this crop. Also, there's usually a buffer zone that has to be followed on these, especially if there's organic next to you. And our industry, you know, we have a good relationship with people that are running fields next to us. And also, our soils are tested pre-planting to see what's in the soil. So we don't want to plant where there's something in the soil. So the ginseng is not an annual, so it's in the ground for 4 years, 3 to 4 years, growing. So if there's anything in that soil, that's what I mean. We'll find, you know, seed treatments from the 60s and the 70s in the soil. Stay away from that. You don't want it.
Interesting.
So everything gets tested where we make sure that we're clean. So, okay, I think I'm okay.
Is there any way you could distinguish between the wild ginseng and the planted ginseng?
Yes. I think it's very easy. With the cultivated ginseng is going to be definitely a bigger root, a couple prongs on it, and there's not a neck on it. It's just, you'll see where the stem was on it. The wild ginseng will never be that big. It's going to be a smaller root, more spidery, much more defined ring definition on it. And then on the neck, you're going to see the year growth. It's like a tree ring, so like this, it just grows out. So you're going to see, you can count the years that was in the soil. And then the fiber, everything that looks intact. If it's not, Dave, you want to speak a little more? I know you work with it a lot. But the difference between the wild and the domestic. If you how to tell them apart or how different it is.
In terms of the physical appearance, the wild wood, because it grows so slow, will grow what we call a neck on it or rhizomes. So basically, it's similar to like a tree where you cut the tree and you can see the growth rings in the tree. That's how that's how I would probably say it's similar to a tree growth. But those rhizomes will build on top of the root. And each year would produce another ring on it. And basically what the ring is that in the fall of the year when the plant goes dormant, it will leave a scar there. And then the following year it will shoot up another fresh stem. And that's where those growth rings will form. So that would be the one thing that you would always look for if you're looking for wild ginseng, are the rhizomes on top of the roots.
And wild ginseng is going to be like 20 times the cost of what commercial is, and 10 times the commercial.
And the weight, the biggest differentiation is the weight.
Yeah, it's going to be a real light root.
Yeah, so if you don't want to get ripped off, somebody says this is wild ginseng, and it feels like a bowling ball in your hand.
But there
it should feel like cardboard.
Good picture of a domestic root.
How do you define wild ginseng and cultivated ginseng from the growing processing and also from the chemical components?
For defining the growth, it's not any assistance whatsoever. So it grows normal.
Chemical components.
You can't put up any shade. You can't any fertilizer. No nothing. If it lives, it lives. If it dies, it dies. And they have years. Some states it's 5 years. Some states it's 10 years. And it depends on natural resource. Whatever state, each state has a different government agency that regulates it because it's an endangered species. And they'll say, like Michigan, no harvesting wild ginseng, it's prohibited. Canada, it's prohibited. So, but the wild ginseng is real light. That's the biggest distinguisher. It doesn't look It looks different than this ginseng up here, and it's a lot lighter.
So from chemical components, for example, glucosides or polysaccharides, these kind of things, is there any difference?
It won't be
The wild one and cultivated one.
Your wild one won't have any residue. It won't have any chemical. Just
No,
outside the outer.
Ingredients, the chemical, effective chemical components.
You'd be a lot higher in your wild.
Okay.
The older and longer it grows, the slower.
Also for the Wisconsin ginseng, do you have any kind of area definition? So only this area can called Wisconsin ginseng, right? Out of this area, they not qualified to call it Wisconsin ginseng.
Oh, no. As long as it's grown in Wisconsin, as long as it's inside these borders, it's Wisconsin ginseng.
Okay, all the Wisconsin states.
Yep. There was some ginseng growing down here.
Wisconsin
I think someone outside of Green Bay had a farm for a while.
There's pockets where there's a small amount, but majority of the ginseng this is the ginseng capital of the world right here. Marathon City and Marathon County, that's the ginseng capital. That's where the soil, it's miles, where the soil is rich and has the split rock and the granite base that allows the water through, and then the rich mineral. Now you go this way, you start getting a dark rut. You get to Minnesota, you start getting a real dark rut. Different soil makeup. It's all getting different. And there's some woods growing over in here. It's just our soil makeup. And it literally, it could be growing anywhere here. There was some ginseng growing down here. It has different properties. And the temperature, this is a central 45-90 right here. You go this way, and your growing unit decreases, your days decrease. You go this way, literally down in here, you have another zone of longer growing. It's quite a difference in the growing region. You start getting the hotter days and the hotter nights, warmer nights, and you lose some of that bitterness and that sweetness of the ginseng also. And that's what gives this region right